Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight: multiple bomb threats made against polling sites across New Jersey on Election Day, forcing closures. New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani blaming the bomb threats on President Trump. How the White House is responding. How does New Jersey gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciattarelli feel about the election? We have highlights from his conversation with Mari Otsu, what the Republican candidate promises if he's elected, and what his supporters tell NTD they want from their governor. Who are New Yorkers picking as their next mayor? Arlene Richards hears from voters in Brooklyn. Virginia is electing its new governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. Jack Bradley explains how the balance of power in the state could have a broader impact on the rest of the country. And former Vice President under George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, has died at the age of 84. His legacy and reaction from former President Bush.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here's Tiffany Meyer.
And good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Paul Graney, in for Tiffany Meyer. Multiple bomb threats were made today against polling sites across New Jersey, forcing some locations to temporarily close. New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani blamed the bomb threats on President Trump this morning, saying they're part of his administration's general approach to, quote, intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud. Here's White House Secretary Karoline Leavitt responding to Mamdani's comments.
I think they are completely irresponsible, and they are based on zero evidence. And I think this is just another example of how the Democrat Party unfortunately stands for nothing. All they stand against is President Donald Trump.
New Jersey Attorney General Matthew Platkin said that bomb threats were emailed to polling areas in Bergen, Essex, Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, Ocean, and Passaic counties. Platkin urged residents to call 911 if they see any suspicious activity. New Jersey's lieutenant governor said there were no more credible threats at this time. Attorney General Pam Bondi said the Justice Department was investigating. Both of New Jersey's gubernatorial candidates condemned the bomb threats. And staying on the election, Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli tells NTD about how he feels about the tight New Jersey governor's race. NTD's Mari Otsu brings us more from Bridgewater, New Jersey, where she's standing by for Ciattarelli's watch party tonight.
All eyes are on the outcome of what is now a very tight New Jersey governor's race as a key indicator of whether President Trump's rise will carry in what's traditionally been a blue state.
Feeling really good. It's my old hometown. The energy's been great. We're going to win tomorrow.
Republican gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciattarelli held his last rally before Election Day in Raritan, New Jersey, Monday night.
We need a Jersey guy. My opponent's not even from New Jersey. We've had enough of that. Let's elect somebody who's from New Jersey, someone who knows what's going on, and somebody who knows how to fix it.
Joined by his family on stage in Raritan, Ciattarelli touts his deep roots in the state of New Jersey and promises affordability if he's elected governor.
Governor Murphy said that he wanted to make New Jersey California of the East. Mikey Sherrill will continue that. There will be no middle class because middle class won't be able to afford to live here. If you love New Jersey like I love New Jersey, vote Jack Ciattarelli.
I'm a retired high school principal. Jack used to come to our school and speak to the students, give speeches. He was very energetic. He was open to the kids' questions. Our taxes are too high, and I know New Jerseyans feel that way, and they've felt that way for years. I truly believe he's going to make a difference there.
Well, I used to be a registered Democrat for 20-something years, or maybe even longer. And the reason why I crossed over was because the Democrats aren't doing nothing here in New Jersey that people look like us. So that's why I crossed over to support Jack.
Yeah, we're both sophomores in high school, yeah. And we're big fans of Jack, obviously. If we could vote, we would vote for him. I saw firsthand, I met him a couple of times, and he's just a genuine guy. I mean, and he actually listens to people, not just people in general, but people like us, people who can't vote.
I feel like Ciattarelli is a good choice for the students because he actually listens. Every time I've spoken to him. He's always been a very open and honest and kind man.
Ciattarelli's son Jake, an Army captain deployed to Kuwait, surprised his father with a visit at his first campaign event of the day.
It feels great. My father's my role model. He's my rock. He's my best friend. It's been tough being away from him for 8 months. But seeing everything that he's doing from that far away and being able to be here for the finish line, it's a great feeling. He's an incredibly genuine man. He's patient, and he listens. I think that's one of the most important things that draws people to him. When you listen to people and understand what their problems are, people trust you.
President Trump's election eve telerally came just after former President Obama held an in-person rally for Democratic New Jersey Representative Mikey Sherrill, Ciattarelli's opponent, on Saturday. Over the weekend, Obama framed the results of the New Jersey election as a referendum on President Trump. President Trump, meanwhile, focuses his argument on energy, saying that Ciattarelli will cut taxes and energy costs tremendously. Reporting from Bridgewater, New Jersey, Mariotsu, NTD News.
And in New York City, voters have now less than 3 hours to decide who will lead America's largest city. NTD's Luis Eduardo Martinez joins us live from outside the Ziegfeld Ballroom, where the CUOMO campaign is gathering for the night. Luis, the former governor is coming into Election Day behind in the polls, but has received some important endorsements throughout his campaign. Maybe you can give us perhaps a big picture of what he stands for and why he's now running as an independent.
Of course, well, Andrew Cuomo, and the Cuomo last name is no stranger to New Yorkers. For 2 decades of the past 40 days, a Cuomo has been in the governor's mansion, and now Andrew Cuomo Jr., the son of Mario Cuomo, is running to be the next mayor of New York City, 67 years old. Of course, stands in contrast to 34-year-old Zohran Mamdani, who is a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist. So that's the first contrast point in between the two front runners. Of course, Andrew Cuomo being second in the polls right now. That Andrew Cuomo is running as the anti-socialist Democrat on the ballot. But of course, we need to remember that he is not running for the Democratic Party. He lost those primaries back in June and is running as an independent. He has won 3 elections prior to this one, but he says that this is the most important of his life. Let's listen to the words of Andrew Cuomo earlier today when he cast his vote.
I'm feeling very good. I feel the momentum is on our side. If you watch the polls, they've all been moving to us. I've been on the street. I feel it from people. I can tell you this, I voted a lot of times. First time I ever walked into a polling place and the polling place cheered for me. The most important election of my lifetime. And I'm not a kid, but this is the most important election of my lifetime.
So Andrew Cuomo differences himself from Zohran Mamdani in that he's actually proposing to increase the New York City Police Department's force by 5,000 officers. On the other hand, Mamdani wants to offer free bus fares for New Yorkers, free child care and health care for New Yorkers. And of course, he plans to do this by increasing the taxes on the billionaire class to at least 2%, something that at least we've heard from Governor Hochul that the Mamdani would not be able to do without the support of the governor's mansion and, of course, state legislators. Now, Andrew Cuomo is also in favor of maintaining the sanctuary city laws. He's also in favor of expanding access to city bus fares for New York City inhabitants. So the differences are mild. The only thing is Andrew Cuomo is not going to the extreme of offering free health care, free bus rides, free child care, but actually trying to at least expand those public services for New York City inhabitants.
Luis Eduardo Martinez at the CUOMO Watch Party in New York City. Luis, thank you. And staying in New York City, at a polling station in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, voters spoke to NTD's Arlene Richards about their pick for mayor.
At the Williams Community Center in Brooklyn on Tuesday, voters were casting their ballots since early morning. It looked like voters were trickling in at a steady rate, but not much of a crowd. One poll worker said 2 machines were getting warm with about 100 votes on each by noon. So we asked some of the voters who they voted for and why.
We get Curtis in there. I think he'll do the right thing for the city, for the cops. You know, security is my main focus here. In the past couple of years, I feel like, it's been getting a little more dangerous out here, and we need somebody that's strong, that's on the streets. Curtis has always been out here from day one, and I think he'll do the right thing by all New Yorkers.
I feel like Zohran just makes a lot of claims with no backing up behind it. A lot of crazy big claims and no way on how to do it.
Free everything and no plan on how to pay for it.
So I voted for Zohran Mamdani. He's wanting to make everything more affordable for everybody, and he's got big goals. Whether he can actually accomplish them or not, who knows? But we've got a best shot with him.
I voted for CUOMO. I chose him out of the 3 because I know him. I know what he's represented and what he's already shown us. I believe in the old saying, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
Somebody like Zohran, perspective-wise, was just a poor person. He pays maybe the amount of same rent as me, and he'd probably empathize more with me on that.
I voted for Zohran just because I think that, prices are pretty high in terms of rent, groceries, everything, and yeah, that's his main platform, just affordability. It's pretty simple for me.
Some residents said they liked Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa and commended him for what he has done to keep the subway safe. But one resident said we don't need safety now. We asked residents if the ballot was confusing because some of the candidates' names appear twice. It's called fusion voting because the candidate is endorsed by multiple parties. It's not used by many states now, but it was popular in the 19th century. The voters were split. Some were confused and some not.
Each party's selected candidate. So like the, Working Families Party, they selected Zohran, which obviously makes sense.
I think it's totally unnecessary how they did the ballots. It seemed like they put the ballots the way they did to confuse you, maybe for you to discourage yourself, because when I voted, I had to take a time and really look at it.
Polls are open in New York until 9 p.m. Tuesday night. Voters and candidates have encouraged all New Yorkers who haven't gotten to the polls yet to go out and vote. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And turning now to Virginia, that state is electing a new governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, but the balance of power could have a broader impact on the rest of the country. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us live from a watch party in Virginia Beach. Jack, can you perhaps break down what we're seeing so far on the Virginia races?
Of course, Paul. So right here we're at a watch party, and first off, I just want to say who wins and by how much may be a good barometer for next year's midterms and the presidential voter approval of President Trump's first 10 months in office in his second term, given Virginia is more of a blue state, has been voting blue in presidential elections in recent elections. But as for the governor's race, Democrat Abigail Spanberger has a strong lead. She's a 3-term congresswoman, ending her term this year so she could run for this race. And she's been running on a campaign of the economy, anti-DOGE cuts, as well as anti-tariff. And her Democrat challenger, Abigail, is Winsome Earl Sears. She's the current lieutenant governor, and she's a Republican. She's running on the campaign of Keep a Good Thing Going after 4 years of Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin's. And she's been campaigning on social issues, public safety, and the economy. Take a look.
We need a governor who will speak up when careless, chaotic, reckless economic policies out of Washington hurt our economy.
She wants to put us back in something called the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which means they're going to tell you what kind of stove you can buy, and it's only electric. They're going to tell you what car you can drive, and it's only electric.
it's not just the Democrat candidate here, Spanberger. It's not just to see how much, if she wins or not, but by how much. And also, she's had a strong lead the entire campaign season. And that's because it's not surprising, as Virginia, for decades, has voted for the opposite party for their governor as the presidential election, as it takes place 1 year after the presidential election, just like New Jersey. Paul.
So, Jack, it looks like either way this goes, Virginia will have its first female governor. But the down ballot race for the state attorney general, it's looking much tighter. Is it possible the state could elect a split ticket?
It is possible, and it's looking like there's a tight race for the Attorney General ticket. That's between Republican incumbent Jason Miyares and his Democrat challenger, Jay Jones. Now, if Miyares pulls through here and we have a Democrat as governor, that would be the first time in 2 decades that we see a split executive branch in terms of parties. Now, it would be interesting to see how they get policy initiatives done after that would likely take place. But as for the race for Attorney General, Jay Jones has been dropping in polls over recent weeks after messages came to light back in 2022 when he was a House delegate, which indicated that he wished for the death of the State House Speaker at the time and his children. Now, Jones has since apologized, and Miyares is looking to win back the voters on the Democrat side that may be sympathetic for his over 4 years of being an attorney general and public safety record. Take a look.
I am ashamed. I am embarrassed. And I'm sorry. I cannot take back what I said. But you have my word that I will always be accountable for my mistakes.
All of the areas of federal and state local law department, how can they ever take you seriously, be the top prosecutor, knowing that you view that children should die to advance a political agenda?
Then there's the race for lieutenant governor between Democrat Ghazala Hashmi and John Reed, her Republican challenger, which is a toss-up right now. But polls close at 7, and we're looking to see that the results for the unofficial election results may come out soon afterward. But for the tighter races, it may take a little bit longer. Paul.
2 decades since the split ticket. Interesting. Jack Bradley in Virginia. Thank you. And still to come. Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani currently leading in the polls in New York City. Trevor Loudon joins us to discuss Mamdani's rise to prominence on the political stage and what his victory could mean for America's largest city and the nation as a whole. And California voters go to the polls in a special election on redistricting. The outcome could reshape which party holds power in Congress next year. Christina Corona brings us the latest after the break.
Election season is back. Socialism is on the ballot in New York, and Trump-backed Republicans in Virginia and New Jersey face their Democratic opponents for governor with results that could impact each party's future. Watch these key races and more during our live special coverage with live data analysis and on-the-ground teams. Join NTD's Steve Lance and Tiffany Meyer on Election 2025 tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern only on NTD.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died. His family said in a statement that he passed away last night from complications of pneumonia and heart disease. A former Wyoming congressman and Secretary of Defense, Cheney became vice president under George W. Bush. Under Bush, Cheney would expand the influence of the vice presidency. He was a leading advocate for the 2003 invasion of Iraq, arguing at the time that the war was necessary because Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. Those claims were ultimately disproved. His daughter Liz Cheney followed him into politics, serving in Congress until she lost her seat after voting to impeach President Trump. Cheney is survived by his wife of 61 years, Lynn, and their daughters Liz and Mary. Dick Cheney was 84 years old. And it's election night, and the results are just around the corner. Let's look at the lineup tonight. Polls are closing in Virginia at 7 p.m. We're watching 3 races in that state: governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. In New Jersey, polls are closing at 8 p.m. Voters there are also choosing a new governor. In New York City, polls are closing at 9 p.m. and in California, polls close at 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Prop 50. That's a pro-Democrat redistricting plan. And make sure you tune in at 7 p.m. tonight to get the latest election results with live analysis from our data reporters and on-the-ground teams. NTD's Steve Lance and Tiffany Meyer will bring you our live special coverage of all the biggest races. That's right after NTD Evening News at 7 p.m. tonight. Don't miss it. And joining us now to discuss the New York City mayoral race is Trevor Loudon, an author, filmmaker, and public speaker. For more than 30 years, he has researched Marxist movements as well as the influence of the Chinese Communist Party. Trevor, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. Mamdani, obviously, the front runner in this race. He has no shortage of critics. I'm sure you saw Texas Congressman Chip Roy writing on X. He said, a radical Marxist Islamist will be the elected mayor of New York City fewer than 25 years after 9/11. We also had a New York Post article linking Mamdani's rise to a network of activists, many of whom are anti-Israel. You've been tracking this issue closely. Do you feel that conservatives are overreacting to Mamdani?
No, I think they're underreacting, to be honest. The guy is a hardcore communist. His group, Democratic Socialists of America, has deep ties to Cuba, is developing ties to China, to various Latin American communist parties and terrorist organizations. He's also an advocate of Shia, the 12 sect of Shia Islam, he converted to that, which is the official state religion of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which believes, by the way, that to bring on the day of judgment, one must plunge the world into chaos. So this guy hates capitalism. He hates Israel. His whole family is the same way, and he will turn New York into Detroit with jihad. That's my estimation.
It's incredible, Trevor. He's, of course, faced criticism for refusing to condemn the phrase globalized infidada, though he says he discourages it now. How do you think voters will respond to this, particularly the large Jewish population here in New York City?
Well, if we had another couple of months, they would probably respond well. But the media in New York has been pretty much supporting this guy. How would I put it? 20% of Republicans are supposedly voting for him. Most Jews are about 50-50. Different ethnic, Muslims are a lot higher, obviously. He's probably got the numbers to win, but I'm still hoping for a surprise. But just on the Intifada thing, see, his father was well known in Marxist circles for coining a philosophy. The philosophy was that you cannot call people like Hamas or Hezbollah terrorists because they're fighting colonialism. So they're fighting Israeli colonialism or American colonialism. So if they are opposing colonialism, by definition, they cannot be terrorists. So Mamdani could say, I don't support terrorists, because he doesn't believe that Hamas and Hezbollah are terrorists by his definition. So absolutely, he's an Intifada supporter. Absolutely, he's anti-Israel. Absolutely, he's comes from a family that's very strongly pro-Hamas. And Democratic Socialists of America also works very closely with Hamas front groups in this country. So, yeah, he's as bad as he looks, maybe worse.
It's just incredible. He is the front runner, obviously, in the polls. CUOMO is closing the gap on him. Let's see how it goes, Trevor. Assuming he does get in, let's take a look at what that means looking forward. He didn't receive endorsements from leaders like Schumer or Jeffries for a while, and now we see House Leader Hakeem Jeffries has endorsed him. Schumer has not. What's your read on this? Is this a division within the Democratic Party?
Well, it's purely practical, the Democrats still need the Jewish vote in New York. So Schumer, who is pretty darn radical in his own right, won't do it. Jeffries is not quite so dependent on the Jewish vote as Schumer is. So maybe he can afford to do it at this late stage. But this is none of these guys really disagree with Mamdani. They've got different tactical considerations. You know, Schumer has to win statewide. He's a senator. He has to win all over the state. So the Jewish vote is vital for him. Jeffries has to win a district that's largely black. So the Jewish vote is not quite so important for him. So he's more flexible in supporting Mamdani. This is purely tactical. This is not any indication of any philosophical belief.
This would be a significant win for the Democratic Socialists of America if they manage to pull it off. If they do, Trevor, what are you watching most closely? You've been warning about the influence of Marxism here in America for so long. What are you going to be watching if it does go through?
Well, by the way, I think the Deputy Mayor, Brad Lander, is also a member, Deputy Mayoral candidate is also a member of Democratic Socialists of America, as are several city councillors. So what I'm looking at is Mamdani will stack the New York City government with hundreds, if not thousands, of radicals, DSAs, care activists, etc. He will already have a very long list of people he's going to appoint, and he's going to turn New York into a counter state, an actual, to basically defy the federal government in every possible way they can. To get ICE out of the city, to defy the police, defy the FBI, whatever, and turn New York into a revolutionary fortress funded by those few New York taxpayers who couldn't afford to sell and leave, and will basically be living in a state of a pretty abject state after a short period of time. The last time we had a very left-wing mayor in New York was in the early 90s, David Dinkins, who let crime go crazy. Times Square was a cesspit. Well, David Dinkins was also a member of Democratic Socialists of America. And it took Giuliani to come in with his, with his broken windows policy and tough on crime approach to fix it. But Mamdani is way, way, way more radical than David Dinkins. And he's got a much bigger machinery around him. He's got over 50,000 volunteers in his campaign, and many of them will be getting government jobs if he is elected.
Incredible. Important race to watch. Trevor Loudon, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And voters across California are heading to the polls today as well to decide on Proposition 50. It's a measure that could help redraw the state's congressional districts and influence which party holds more seats in the House. NTD's Christina Corona has more on what's at stake.
It's Election Day. Millions of voters across California are casting their ballots on Proposition 50. If passed, it could allow Democrats to gain 5 more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Prop 50, pushed by Governor Gavin Newsom, would override the maps drawn by California's Independent Redistricting Commission. These maps decide which voters are grouped into each congressional district and can influence which party wins more seats. That could bring Democrats' total to 48 of the state's 52 congressional seats by 2026. With only one measure on the ballot, voters say the process was quick and straightforward.
There is a lot of people voting in there.
I had to wait just a minute or two. I do see people voting right now, and it seems pretty easy. They seem they're very kind, approachable, and quick to the point.
Newsom says the plan is a response to Republican redistricting in Texas, which he calls unfair. Supporters argue Prop 50 ensures California's representation stays balanced in Congress.
I'm for Prop 50 because I see what the current administration is doing, how he's trying to manipulate a more Republican-based seating on his side, I guess, obviously. And so this is, I guess, Gavin Newsom's way to counteract that. And I see it as a fair game, honestly. Like, if he can go ahead and do that, no problem, no one bats an eye, then I don't see why Gavin can't also, counteract that. So
I voted yes on Prop 50. I don't believe that, redistricting all these districts to go ahead and give our opponents or politicians an advantage to go ahead and get an automatic vote and win an election. I think that is unfair.
However, opponents believe that this measure undermines the Independent Redistricting Commission, making the process less transparent and more partisan. In September, former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger appeared in a new ad urging voters to vote no on Proposition 50.
Prop 50 cancels this historic reform, putting the politicians back in charge.
The Constitution does not start with the politicians, it starts with we the people.
To help voters get to the polls, LA Metro is offering free rides on Election Day from 4 a.m. Tuesday through 3 a.m. Wednesday. Riders can take buses, trains, bikes, or micro ride shares to voting centers or ballot drop boxes.
If Prop 50 passes, these new maps would take effect in 2026 and would last until the 2030 census, after which the Independent Commission would resume control. Polls close at 8 p.m. local time. Reporting from the city of El Monte, Christina Corona, NTD News.
And the Hamas terrorist group says they've handed over another body of a deceased hostage to the Red Cross. Meanwhile, the World Food Programme is calling for more aid to enter the Gaza Strip, while Israel says Hamas is stealing it. NTD's Jason Perry has the update on the Gaza peace plan.
The Hamas terrorist group laid human remains on top of a vehicle in the Gaza Strip on Tuesday. Hamas said the remains were of an Israeli soldier who was being held hostage in the territory. Hamas handed over the remains to the Red Cross, which then transferred the body to Israeli forces, and the body was taken to the National Institute for Forensic Medicine for identification. And if confirmed to be the body of a deceased hostage, that will leave 7 bodies of deceased hostages still left in the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, another body recently returned to Israel was confirmed to be a colonel in the Israel Defense Forces. And his funeral was held on Tuesday, where Israeli President Isaac Herzog spoke.
More than 2 years have passed since that terrible morning when you fell, the morning when you announced over the radio, as we just heard. With chilling composure amidst the range and destruction and chaos outside, you said, "This is the commander declaring war." With clarity and without fear, you immediately understood that this was war.
And Israel's chief of the general staff vowed to return all of the bodies of the deceased hostages held in the Gaza Strip. This comes as Israeli troops continue to operate near the Yellow Line, behind which they moved their forces according to the ceasefire agreement. And they reported finding and destroying an underground tunnel in the area that was used by Hamas terrorists. Meanwhile, a director in the World Food Programme, a United Nations food agency, called for more aid to be delivered to the Gaza Strip.
People are still hungry, people are starving, people do not have proper humanitarian support.
However, Israel's government spokesperson said hundreds of trucks carrying humanitarian aid have been entering the Gaza Strip.
The issue, as ever, as CENTCOM itself, the American Armed Forces released over the weekend, that Hamas are looting the aid trucks, they are stealing the aid, they are up to their usual dirty tricks.
Also on Tuesday, the UK's Minister for the Middle East said talks were taking place to introduce a UN Security Council resolution for international forces in the Gaza Strip. Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained that many of the countries that want to participate in that security force will need a UN resolution or international agreement to do so because their own domestic laws require it. Jason Perry, NTD News.
And Israel has now confirmed that the body Hamas returned was of Israeli-American hostage Itay Chen. Israel has said that his family has been notified. And after recent comments by President Trump, Ukraine is urging the United States to remain open to supplying Kyiv with long-range weapons. And the European Union says Ukraine is making great progress in its bid to join the Bloc. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the latest.
For Ukraine, membership or in the European Union can be a major security guarantee.
The High Representative of the European Union says she's optimistic about Ukraine joining the bloc. Katja Kallas praises the effort Kiev has been making in its bid to join the EU.
No candidate country has ever implemented such sweeping reforms while at war.
At the same time, the bloc issues warnings to Serbia and Georgia. The EU's Enlargement Commissioner says the situation in both of those countries is getting worse.
Serbia needs to deliver on credible reforms across the board. In Georgia, the situation has sharply deteriorated with serious democratic backsliding, as never before in one of the candidate countries.
Pro-EU activists in Georgia have been complaining about their government allegedly being infiltrated by Russia. Georgia has been passing pro-Russian laws while cracking down on pro-EU movements. Serbia has also been going against pro-democracy protests in the country. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging the US to remain open to supplying Kiev with long-range weapons. On Sunday, Trump denied reports claiming he decided to provide Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles.
Your administration provide Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles? Is that something that you're not considering that?
No, not really.
Zelensky responded on Tuesday, saying the US needs to remain open to the possibility of supplying the long-range weapons to Ukraine.
We need to have it to use it. We need the support of the US. We need the support of President Trump.
In more positive news for Ukraine, Zelensky says Trump is supporting Kiev to be part of the European Union in the future. According to Zelensky, the two presidents discussed the issue and Trump stands behind the effort. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
And after the break, we go to NTD's Election Data Hub with Kevin Hogan and Dave Martin for everything you need to watch on tonight's election. Stay with us.
Election season is back. Socialism is on the ballot in New York, and Trump-backed Republicans in Virginia and New Jersey face their Democratic opponents for governor with results that could impact each party's future. Watch these key races and more during our live special coverage with live data analysis and on-the-ground teams. Join NTD's Steve Lance and Tiffany Meyer on Election 2025 tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern only on NTD.